Hi there. I'm Giancarlo Rulli, Associate Director of Public Relations and longtime animal care volunteer here at the Marine Mammal Center. Welcome to Sentinels of the Sea, a podcast focusing on what we've learned here at the Marine Mammal Center over 50 years of studying seals, sea lions, whales, and other marine mammals. I'm excited to have with me my good friend and colleague, Adam Ratner, joining us today on episode 2 of Sentinels of the Sea. We're going to be highlighting the issue of marine mammal disturbance and the center's efforts to create best behavior change on how people can safely view wildlife and make a difference in the lives of these marine mammals. In 2023, the center saw a banner year for marine mammal disturbance. More than 200 animals that came to our doors in terms of marine mammal care suffered some form of marine mammal disturbance. That equated to 30% of all marine mammals that the center responded to. So it certainly is a complex topic, and as I said off the top, there's nobody better that I'd rather have here than my good friend and colleague here at the center, Adam Ratner, to go through everything of what we've learned, what we're doing, and what lies ahead. Adam, one of the cases that jumped out to me last year in 2023 was the case of a young sea lion named Thunder. Feel like it was pretty emblematic of the issues that we have been seeing. Can you describe to our audience kind of that case and how it refers to really, or as a representation of a wider problem we're seeing here at the center?
So Thunder was a traumatic case in a sense that you've got this juvenile sea lion that's out on Ocean Beach, basically downtown San Francisco. And people saw this animal, it wasn't looking good, it wasn't moving very much up on the beach. And people wanted to help it. They got close to it. They tried to look at it. They even tried to feed it. And while that's a good intention, the amount of stress that can cause to an animal is immense. So we were getting phone calls from people letting us know that this animal needed our help. We were getting our team out there. And the best way people could help was keeping a safe distance from it, letting us know. We were able to rescue the animal, bring it back to the hospital, treat it for this bacterial infection called leptospirosis, and get the animal back out to the wild. But we think about how much stress that animal went through to be able to get the care that it needed. So as we take a step back, you mentioned 30% of the animals that we rescued last year suffered from some form of disturbance, whether it's from people or animals out on the beach. We can make a difference here and really give these animals a safe space to rest and recover and minimize harm to them by taking a couple really simple steps.
Can you kind of then dive in a bit into like where, I think for our audience, it really is a part of understanding where is this happening? What types of disturbance are we even talking about? Can you kind of shed some light on a bit of that for us?
Of course. So that first number, that 30% of all the animals that we rescued last year told us that there was a problem. But it led to a lot more questions. How is it a problem? Where is it a problem? So we had to look at data. We're rescuing animals anywhere from around 700 animals up to 2,000 animals in a single year. And every single one of those animals is a phone call from someone like you out on the beach that sees an animal that needs help. So we've been able to look at our records then. So we know that we're rescuing animals from 600 miles of California coastline, Mendocino to San Luis Obispo, and we identified hotspot areas, places in Santa Cruz County, places in Marin County, where we were seeing really severe cases of harassment for these animals. So we can start to really pay attention and get education campaigns, communication to the areas that need it the most. One of the things that did come up, though, is that all throughout our range, this is an issue. So while there are hotspots, anyone within that Mendocino to San Luis Obispo area has the ability to be an ocean hero and do the right thing if they see an animal sick or hurt out on the beach.
It's interesting because when we think about disturbance, right, there's varying things that maybe come to mind when you see a marine mammal. What are more of the common, I guess, forms of disturbance that we've been documenting over the past 2 years? Is there anything, I know you're saying that there are these kind of disturbance hotspots across our range, but I'm wondering if you can kind of dive into that a bit more for us.
That was the what question that we had to figure out. So we know it's a problem. Any amount of disturbance or harassment to these animals is going to cause stress and undue harm on the animals. But what were the problems? We were able to group them into a few categories. So one was actually disturbance by dogs. So dogs that are off leash, or even dogs that are on leash, getting really close to these animals, sometimes biting them, scaring them off into the water, forcing them to move. A lot of energy gets exerted at that point from an already sick animal. So that's going to be one category or grouping of disturbance that we found. Another is people simply approaching these animals and getting close.
I would imagine that's of note, that is really something that would be fairly common, no?
Absolutely. So people that are getting close, maybe just curiosity, maybe to get a closer look, figure out what's going on, or maybe it's for some reason that's more intentional and more harmful to the animals. So you've got these gradient of people that are getting close within a couple feet of these animals to people that are getting close and touching these animals or physically moving these animals. That's obviously going to have an even bigger impact. So we were able to figure out the what, we were able to figure out the where, and then the next part of the project is figuring out the why.
The three
why
W's.
Why are people getting close to these animals?
Sure.
And that took a little bit of a deeper dive.
Here with Adam Ratner, Director of Conservation Engagement and all-around guru of marine mammals, as you can hear. Adam, interested in terms of, you kind of highlighted a bit of the data analysis and a bit of the where and the when. You mentioned stress in terms of impact overall on behavior of marine mammals. For somebody that maybe is not familiar with how we can impact a marine mammal, maybe can you describe what that looks like, I guess, visually, but then B, what are the ramifications of interacting with a marine mammal where you're causing increased levels of stress to it?
So we would see stress really manifest in a few different ways. So one could be just the energy exertion. So you're in a place, you're sick, you're not feeling well, and there's all of this activity happening around you. People getting close, throwing things at you, trying to feed you. That's not what you want. So you have to exert energy to move. So maybe they're trying to return to the water. That limits our ability as the Marine Mammal Center to go out and rescue that animal. It also means they have to then spend the energy to swim. They're mammals, just like us. It could be that there's a mom and a pup, and that level of disturbance or activity actually separates those two. And we see a lot of young harbor seals, in particular in the springtime, that can be separated from their moms due to people or dogs that are on the beaches. We can also just see the same way when you're not feeling well, that lack of energy and that extra stress can amplify other issues your body's feeling with. You're diverting resources from fighting the flu to fighting this other thing. And that could impact how severe the issue is that you're facing and the recovery at time it takes to actually get better.
So let's talk about solutions, right? We've kind of delved into the three W's, the what, where, and when, and the why. Make it 4, and trying to then figure out, okay, how big of a problem is it? Where is it? Why is it happening? What is the center doing from a solutions-based point of view in terms of addressing the problem in real time? And through taking a deep dive into this the last 2.5 going on 3 years, what are some of the learned things that have popped up in terms of how we can take some of this learned information and apply it in real time to try to create behavior change?
I think that's really the key element here, this idea of behavior change, that we spend a lot of time looking at animal data. We know what the problem is for the animals. We know how the animals are reacting. We know where the animals are facing these things. It didn't answer the human side of that question, which is why. And what's really wonderful is the center is looking at this One Health approach and that intersection of the people and the animals. So we went out into the communities and we asked them about their perceptions, their attitudes around marine mammals, how they would react in different situations, and that gave us some really important insights. We know by and large, the vast majority of people don't want to hurt these animals. So why are we still seeing 30% of our animals being disturbed out on the beach?
It's a massive number.
It's huge when you think about most likely these people are not doing this intentionally. So what it translated to is we identified a few key characteristics. There were a lot of people that fell into this category of wildlife protectors. This idea that they wanted to help these animals. So they were getting close to help them, to feed them, to move them to a safer place. All well-intentioned. The problem is the result of their action probably made things significantly worse.
It's like the Good Samaritan model.
Exactly, the
Yeah.
wildlife protector, Good Samaritan.
Okay.
So that gives us clues then to what we can do to help guide those people that already want to try and help and care to do the right thing. And we'll talk about those in just a moment. The other big group were these kind of wildlife experience seekers.
Sure.
The ones that wanted that selfie. They wanted that moment really close with this animal. So maybe that was less with the animal's health in mind and more about what I wanted. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing in some cases, there are strategies we can use to help find that middle ground where they can still experience that moment and enjoy it, but not do it at the kind of extent and health ramifications that they are doing.
So to kind of piggyback off of that, how do you approach these two groups, right? You've explained the Good Samaritan model, and at the same time you have the person that's trying to have some type of an experience with what's there, and all the better if there's marine wildlife there as well to make that experience one notch up. How do you even go about trying to tackle those groups? Because to me they do seem different in terms of their behavioral approach about how they want to interact with wildlife.
There's no one size fits all. So we have to get out into the communities, identify where those hotspots are, what the behaviors are that they're doing, and help provide alternatives. So for those wildlife protectors, locals, people that tend to skew maybe slightly older, are going to hear some of these stories in different places. So let's get the information. Stay 150 feet away from the animals. Use your Zoom. Call the Marine Mammal Center if you see an animal that's sick or hurt. Let's get that information into communities where they're going to hear it. Let's empower those locals to be those ocean heroes in their own environment. There are tools and resources out there. They don't need to be the ones to go up to these animals and try and help them. Call the experts that are in your community to help with that.
What has you, I think for those that are watching this, it is, I mentioned off the top, we're discussing a very complex topic and trying to distill it down into understandable bits, because there's things about it that even myself and Adam sometimes struggle to comprehend and are in real time trying to figure things out. I think for the audience watching this, to me, Adam, part of this too is what excites you? Like, what gives you hope in all of this, with the data kind of staring us all in the collective face, that there can be those solutions, and kind of tackling that from that perspective, that you can be an ocean hero, you can make a difference in the lives of these animals, but here's how you can do it.
People want to help. That's the great thing. So our data showed us people want to help these animals, but they don't have the tools yet to do it in the best possible way. The Marine Mammal Center can offer those tools. We've got trained experts. We've got a hotline number, so you immediately at your fingertips can get that animal the help it needs without getting involved in a way that could unintentionally make the problem worse. That's what gives me hope, is that we're not waiting for science to save us. All the solutions are there. We just need to create that pathway and those opportunities to leverage people's excitement, passion for these animals, how lucky we are in California to have so many of these animals in our backyard. Let's guide people for how to be that ocean hero for them.
And how would you, to the public out there, encourage them to get involved or make a difference in that regard? Where can they learn more information about our behavior change efforts and what they can do?
MarineMammalCenter.org is a fantastic site. You can also scan the QR code to get our phone number into your phone so you have it at your fingertips. Remember, keep your distance if you see an animal out there, but know that we are a resource at the Marine Mammal Center to help you. And if you want to get involved, if you are that wildlife protector, there are always volunteer opportunities. Let's give you the training, the resources, so that if you're out there and you see an animal that's sick or hurt, you have the tools that you need to do it in the right way to help that animal.
And Adam, scan that QR code right there, and it'll get you halfway there. I really appreciate you coming on to take the time with me today. Certainly a complex topic, but we hope you've enjoyed it. Again, Adam Ratner, my good buddy and longtime colleague here at the Marine Mammal Center. He's a director of conservation engagement for us. I'm Giancarlo Rulli. Thanks so much for listening. We really appreciate your support. Now go out there and be an ocean hero. Thank you.